I would just like you to explain our new little thing that you and Nick have been working on setting up so we can,
Yes, we were actually
I was
attempting.
trying to log into it now.
Yeah,
I was unable to.
I'm actually gonna go back to my desk and see. For those who just came in, I'll go through it one more time real quick. So our requirement with the recordings and putting them online. I've been working with Nick. He has done this already for 2 of his other towns. The problem that you run into with our websites being hosted by the county, the maximum videos that we can load to our website is about 3 to 4, depending on the size, time length. And then it pretty much crashes your website. You can't put any more up. So the workaround that Nick has found for all of these other towns was posting the videos to YouTube. So today I went through and I've been working with him to create a Town of Newstead page on YouTube. And I actually uploaded all 3 of the meetings today, but they were supposed to go live at 6:30, but Joe can't find them yet. So I'm gonna go find out why Joe can't find them yet. But our videos will be hosted on a Town of Newstead YouTube page.
No cost to the town.
No cost to the town. And as soon as I have it up and live and I know it's working right, then I will create a link to it on our website. So people can go to the website, hit the link, and it'll take them right to the YouTube page.
Has the school been doing that for over a year?
I'm not sure how they host theirs, but I know that they were doing remote meetings.
They are YouTube now. They were doing Zoom,
Okay.
but in the recent months, they've been doing, I apologize.
No, you're
I
good.
just happen to know.
Just recently.
They're recently, they're on
Yeah.
YouTube.
I think everybody that is doing this video recording are finding that the file sizes are so large that their formats just won't support them. So. Yeah. Okay,
okay, thanks, Don.
all right.
John,
Yes, this is Joe Green. If you guys remember, we talked briefly about charging stations. We didn't really have that much knowledge on it. They sent an email out again, if anybody's interested in it. And I don't know, a month, maybe a couple of weeks ago, whenever Joe had texted me and I brought it up to Dave and we wanted to get a little information. From what I understand from Joe, and I'll let him go into it, basically, there is grant money available at 100% and the revenues would go to the town as long as it's on town property.
Yeah, if they're your stations, you get the revenue again.
So, the floor is yours, Joe.
Alrighty, well, I'll tell you what, why don't, while I start to talk, how about if I pass these around, this packets here of information, I brought 10, I don't know how many we actually have there, but in my cards are here, so I'll send this week.
It should be 7. Now we're the 13. Or should be good.
Okay. So, I guess, first off, thank you for inviting me in to talk to you a little bit, and I'll be as brief as you need me to be, or as detailed as you have questions that I need to try to answer for you. There are a couple of different types of EV charging stations you can do.
They're already separated.
They're already separated.
I'm gonna start all over.
So we'll give you that and then.
Sorry
I'll
about
put it
This one go, maybe this goes here.
Yeah.
And this one goes here.
There we go.
darn school teachers,
Actually, I don't take 2 steps back.
Um,
or another school teacher. No.
So there's 2 types of EV charging stations you can do. One is called level 2, which is obviously much faster than anything you might typically install at your residence to charge your electric vehicle. The other is level 3, or what they call DC fast chargers. The price difference between those 2 is pretty huge. Where a DC fast charger will probably fully charge your average electric vehicle in anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. A level 2 is going to take probably somewhere between 4 to 6 hours. The cost difference is quite a bit though, and the requirements to put in DC fast chargers are quite a bit more intense, including they have to have they must be attached to their own electric meter. So we can talk through some of that if you want to, but most of the towns we've been talking to are looking at doing the level 2s. Level 2s will charge virtually any of the electric vehicles out there even Teslas, which have their own proprietary charging stations. Anybody that buys a Tesla, they get an adapter that will allow their cars to be plugged into a, non-Tesla charger, so level 2 would work for them as well.
So Joe, real quick, with
Yeah.
regards to the grant,
Yeah.
are one of these two mandated or do we have an
No,
option?
you have options.
Okay.
They're both fine, yeah.
Okay.
So, I guess, let me tell you, can I have you pass me back one of those? Yeah, thanks. So, just let me tell you real quickly what I put in here. This is a little bit of a primer, a little bit about our company, but also about the charging stations in general. That's what you have on the first page. The next two documents that are in here, this is about the 2022 Department of Environmental Conservation's grant program that they call ZEV, which stands for Zero Emission Vehicle. This program came out not very long ago. There's a very limited window to apply for the grant for this year. You actually have to have your application in by September 30th, so we're not far off from that. When they opened up this program, they put $5 million into it. 3 million of it went into level 2 chargers, 2 million went into DC fast chargers. I can't tell you what's left. They're going to review all of the applications after they've been submitted and then award them, according to whatever method they choose. I would imagine quite a few applications are in there, so it's possible there's still money. There may not be. It's hard to say.
Have they started awarding it
No.
already? So
No, they don't do it until after September 30th, is my understanding. So if you get your application in there and it's approved, it will cover up to 80% of the cost of putting these chargers in. And they cover virtually everything. I mean, soft costs of all kinds. I mean, there's really almost nothing that's excluded from being eligible for it. The requirement is that you have to put in 20% of your own funding. However, there's another program through the Joint Utilities, Electric Utilities of New York, called Make Ready, which covers the installation costs in large part for putting these chargers in, which could easily make up to 20%, and they allow you to do that. So virtually, you could do this at no cost to you. And that second document is more ample. I didn't print out the whole thing, but this is a snapshot of the bill that is in front of President Biden to sign right now. If this bill does get signed, I'm sorry, this isn't the one. It's on the last page. This is still about the ZEV program. This has, I kind of highlighted some key things in there for you to look at in yellow. It's not the whole thing, but it's the stuff that I think is most relevant for you as you're thinking about possibly putting in an application before the 30th of September. And I'd be happy to help in that process as well. The other thing that I was about to mention, which has to do with the bill that's in front of President Biden to sign, is it has federal tax credits in there. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys can't take advantage of any state tax credits, correct? Can municipalities take advantage of state tax credits?
I don't believe so.
you'd have to pay tax for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I didn't think you probably could. There are some pretty significant state tax credits available, but the federal tax credit is going to be reinstated, and there's some language which is on this last page that I printed off for you that's included in the bill, which addresses how municipalities such as yourselves can actually take advantage of this. What they're allowing you to do is, since you don't have necessarily the tax burden to be able to use the tax credit, they let you take it as a direct pay, which basically means you get a check. So the value of that tax credit actually can get paid back to you. So that's additional money that would be available to you to actually put these stations in. So I guess my point is, even if the ZEV grant program isn't necessarily available, or you don't get approved for it this year, between the Make Ready funds and the ability for you to now monetize these federal tax credits, it's quite possible that the majority of the cost of it would still be covered.
Any idea about cost? It should make,
Sure,
the
sure.
difference between the two and.
Yeah, so your level 2s, it's going to vary really based on where you're going to put them in. And what I would tell you is that these need to be made, they should be publicly available. That's going to be your biggest bang for your buck, and also for you to qualify for a lot of these incentives, they need to be made public. So I can tell you that in some of the other towns and villages that we're talking to, places that they've been looking at putting them in, places like the town hall, places like the library, places like the town pool, if there is one, parks, places where people go and might have an electric vehicle and want to plug it in and charge there. So depending on what you want to do, we're working with the town of Onondaga right now, and they're looking at possibly putting in eight ports, I believe, 8 plugs. Each is a dual port station in 3 different locations, and they've actually submitted their grant, so we'll see where that goes. In terms of the cost of it, as I said, the cost of the equipment is pretty standard. You know, a single port station is probably, I don't know, probably gonna run somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. The majority of that is covered. And the install cost is really where there is, you know, it really varies depending on the install. The proximity to existing infrastructure, so wire runs are critical. If they're really long wire runs, it adds to the cost. If we decide to put it in a location where maybe we're not going to tap into existing infrastructure, but there's a power pole right there that we can drop a new line with a new service from grid, that can make it very cost effective. And then we just set up a sort of an A-frame that has the meter in it, the power panel to control the EV charging stations, and we plug it in and do it all right there. These can be pedestal mounted depending on where you're putting them. If you're putting them alongside of a building somewhere and you want to mount them on the wall next to a parking place, that can be done too. And in terms of, I guess you were asking me about the difference between, you know, a DC fast charger and a level 2. It's probably about 5 times more expensive.
So one of these units has, a single unit has two wires.
Typically, yep.
And
Typically, it's
Onondaga, you said, was putting in 8 of these,
they're looking at
so
that.
they can service 16 cars simultaneously.
Sorry, no, they're putting in four stations.
So putting
I
in
think
4
there's
stations.
each with 2
Two.
ports.
Thank you.
Yeah. They do have single port options too, but most of the things we work on are dual port stations. And they have cable management systems on them to keep the cables off the ground and all of that too.
And this is, I pull in with an electric vehicle, plug in, put my card in, and I'm charged for that
Yeah,
charge?
so there's lots of different ways for that charging session to begin. You can do it through an app on your phone, which most people that have EV cars have the app.
Okay,
They find the station through the app. They can actually log in and begin that charging session through the app. Most of them are equipped with RFID, which is basically near field communication. So you can hold up your phone or hold up stick a credit card in, and credit card readers are possible. A lot of them have keypads where you can enter information in. So there's a lot of different ways to get that charging session going.
Mhm.
And in terms of how you charge, there's tremendous flexibility because they're all driven by software. So, in cases where we've been selling to retail spaces, a lot of retail places that put these in will offer a certain amount of charge time free of charge just to get more foot traffic into their business. So maybe they offer 30 minutes free, and then after that, they start charging. And you can charge by, per kilowatt hour. You can charge a flat rate per hour. You can also put things in there so that somebody decides to plug in and the charging session is done and they don't move their car after a certain period of time. Then you basically start charging them for parking there. So there's lots of flexibility. And if you wanted to, like town employees or something, if you wanted to segregate a certain group who are able to go and charge at no charge, you can set that up so that when they log in, they don't get charged. So there's lots and lots of flexibility. Another thing to keep in mind, and this would all be part of what we would set up for you if you decided to go forward, would be under the ZEV program, all of these stations have to be networked and maintained on the network for 10 years. So there's a networking service charge that's all part of it, again, covered by the program. If that didn't go through, typical requirements for the other programs that are out there that provide monies are 5 years. And it's pretty reasonable. And basically that networking keeps your stations online so that people can find them and then log into them. And then of course, NYSERDA, the state agency and the utilities and things will have access to the data so they can see that they're, how they're being utilized.
That's network now. What about on-site maintenance of these pieces of equipment? Is that on the town?
Well, so depending on what we did, the units that we typically offer up come standard with 1 year parts and labor warranty included, along with a year of networking. So you really got nothing. I mean, basically the networking software will let us know if there's an issue, and if there is an issue, then the service provider would notify us, and then warranty work would take place immediately. That can be extended, and I would say that if we're going to apply for the grant, we would extend it automatically for the full duration so that you're fully covered during that period of time.
How durable are these things?
Well,
snow removal, kids.
yeah. I mean, they're obviously made for pretty heavy duty wear and tear. I don't know if you've seen the ones that are out in front of, kind of the Eastern Hills Mall, all those Tesla units that are out there, those have been there for quite a long time. I mean, they're built for the elements, especially around here. And like I said, the cable management system, that's kind of one of the most important things, because those cables can easily get ripped off, torn off, if they're left on the ground. So anything that, and it's a requirement actually for all the programs, if you're gonna put them in, you've got to have a cable management system, so that when those plugs are removed from the vehicle, they're automatically retracted and are up and off the ground. Yeah. And there's bollards and things that are put up to
Okay.
prevent people from, running right in.
Okay.
Well,
How does-
back when I brought this up a while ago, and we weren't really thinking about it.
Yeah.
I had reached out to our grant writer, because we do have a grant writer.
Oh, okay, good.
And,
That'll probably make this part a whole lot easier.
Exactly. and I talked with him, the DEC, which is the grant that you
Yeah.
have there.
Yeah.
It's by the per capita income, depending on your income, depends on how much, whether you get 10%, 90%, 100%. Our town falls into the 90%, so we would get a 90% grant, have to pay 10% on
Okay.
that. But there's also, and he mentioned that this comes out every year.
It does,
It
but it comes out, they put it out and it happens so fast.
Yes.
They introduce it and then you've got like 2 months to respond and try to get it in
In
there.
the,
So,
he said not to alarm us, but if we put in, he suggests we put in, if we're gonna do it within the next 2 weeks.
yeah. I mean, it's always
Because
a matter
he
of
said
time. I would agree.
Not, they'll never admit it, but he said basically last year, they started, approving before the deadline.
Before they announce.
So most of the money was gone. by
Yeah,
the time
Tom
of the
suspected
deadline,
the same.
which
thing.
is not the what they're supposed to do,
Right.
but that's what they would do.
Right, right.
So, and
I
he
gave you
mentioned-
the politically correct answer when that came
Yes.
up.
And National Grid has another program also that could help.
That's the Make Ready Fund that I was talking about, yes. And what they do, the Make Ready Fund, you can get up to $6,000 per plug. But to get that 6,000, you have to be a multi-unit dwelling in a disadvantaged community. As they define it. And are you, because I looked, you're not considered that, right? I didn't
No.
think so. Well, and you're also probably not gonna be looking at putting these up at a multi-unit dwelling anyway. So that being the case, you would qualify for the 90% level, which would mean you'd get $5,400 per plug, max, depending on what the install costs are.
To your knowledge, like, to me, one of the obvious places is here at the town hall.
Yep.
But our electric here from the town is the village electric. It's not. They have their own electric. How
Yes,
does
that's
that
right,
enter
that's right, that's a
into it?
really good point.
Good.
So they're not part of the joint utilities, that's a really good point.
MEUA, I think.
Yeah, municipal electric.
Right,
Yeah,
Which
are
I
they
don't-
part of municipal electric?
yeah, I don't know if they have a comparable program, that's a very good point. If any place where National Grid would serve, that you have property and would put them there, then that's pretty straightforward, but if it's going to be in the village and on
Mhm.
municipal power, that'd be something we'd have to look into to see what they might have available there.
And can the town go into partnerships with
Good question,
organizations
great question,
like
the school or,
Leisurewood
Yeah,
or
right.
fire company?
So that's why I gave you this, because let me put in right here, that's stated in here. Okay, so if you go to the top of page 8. And I can now confess to you right now, I've not done this with anyone, so I really don't know the details of it, but it is a possibility. So it says right at the top, municipalities may work together or with one or more non-eligible entities. Community college, Leaderwood, whatever, something that wouldn't ordinarily qualify, because to qualify under this program, you have to be basically a municipality. But if you more or less sponsor some other commercial business or whatever it is, my understanding is that you could do that, but that you have to be, like, you'd have to fill out the application, you'd be in charge of that whole thing, but yes, you can sponsor somebody.
Bottom of page 7, ineligible applicants. School districts. Fire districts.
Right, so all of those. you
Oh,
could
they're not
sponsor.
eligible for the rebate program?
They're not eligible to apply for this directly, but if you wanted to sponsor them to do it, that's what they're saying on the next page.
All right.
You could sponsor them to do something.
To become eligible to sponsor.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, great question.
And how does the town get revenue from this?
Yeah, and so, the way the town would get revenue is once they're installed, you would determine how you want to charge users of those stations. And then any of the revenue collected, that same network service provider that keeps them all network and online, they also are responsible for doing the back end processing of the payments. So they would basically cut you a check, usually it's on a quarterly basis, for any revenue that comes in off those machines. And for that, they generally have some sort of maybe 3%, they would, hold back for the cost of processing credit cards, and things like that. But the majority of all that revenue would be sent back to you. Did that answer the question? It's Patricia, right?
Yeah, I'm just, again, I'm not unfamiliar with this, but, so who gets charged for the electricity? Just them? We never get charged for it?
Oh, good, okay, good question. I might have misunderstood you at first. So the electricity that fuels those charging stations, that each one of those stations would be connected to a meter that is owned by the town of Newstead. So you would be charged for any usage at those stations, but you would recoup those costs through how you charge the people that actually attach their cars to the stations to charge.
So we have to charge a lot more than.
Yeah,
what
you
is-
would charge obviously more than you would be charged, exactly right, to make a profit on it. Yeah, so I mean, some of the pricing I've seen out there is, maybe you're paying on average 15 cents a kilowatt hour for power. You charge 35 cents a kilowatt hour to have somebody charge, so you make, 20 cents per kilowatt hour. But there's all sorts of different ways to slice and dice that pricing model to work for you.
yeah, because our grant writer is Rotella Grant Writing Services out of in Niagara County.
Okay,
And he's working with, I know has worked with a few other towns.
okay,
And there's a program at UB that helps sponsor this.
okay,
Might help you, his name is Jason. KULASZEWSKI, he's in charge of the project.
spell that one more time.
Jason, Jason?
Yep.
J.
Yeah, no, I got that.
KULASZEWSKI. And as long as I have I'll send it to you, Joe.
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely not a program I'm familiar with, so it'd be good to know. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things out there with the mandates to be, do more with green energy and, get more EV cars out there and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of incentives available, and there are tons for the DC fast chargers as well. actually.
So your company would make money by selling us the units?
Yeah, selling and installing the units for you. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I would give you a proposal once. So the next step, if you guys decided you wanted to do something, would be for us to look at the site or sites where you might want to do this. And then I would come back with, we typically use O'Connell Electric. We've also done a ton of work in Leisurewood.
Yeah.
To do our install work. And so we bring them back and look at the sites, and then I can get back with kind of a proposal for each one of them. But if you do choose sites that are attached to municipal power of the village, that is something I will have to look into. I really don't know how that would work. Any place that's serviced by National Grid is really straightforward as far as the Make Ready funds are concerned. And I'm not even sure on this, maybe your grant writer would know. I don't know if even on this program, there would be restrictions if you're on muni power. See, there's things with muni power, like one thing in particular, I know that's always been a gotcha when I've worked with other sorts of business offerings. There's a line on your bill. If you look at your National Grid bill, there's a line on your bill that says SBC, System Benefit Charge. That line that's on that bill that you pay into and you see money there, that goes into the fund that funds all like the NYSERDA programs and other things. If you're not paying into that fund, a lot of times, a lot of the programs that normally would be available aren't there. So that could be true with this. I don't know. But I know muni bills don't have a system benefit charge line item on their bills.
A quick call to the village.
Yeah, it'll probably help sort that out. Yeah.
We could find that out.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the board is gonna talk about it later. We won't make a decision while you're here, but.
Oh, of course
we'll
not,
get back
no.
to you.
No, but I mean, if you do discuss it and think that it's something you want to pursue, then I would agree with your grant writer. The sooner you could get your app in, the better. And that's
Mhm.
great. You have somebody that can do that for you. Town of Onondaga had somebody, we're working with a couple of other towns, and one of the guys on the team is trying to help them through it. It's a very complicated, cumbersome app.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but the sooner the
It's a
better.
government app. What do you?
Yeah, of course. Right.
Can you change the kilowatt hour? Can you change the charge for it? If like electricity's the price of it goes up, you can change your. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's different ways for you to handle that management of the system. The network service provider will do it for you, obviously at a cost. But they'll also get you set up and it's not complicated. So anybody with a bit of computer experience would be able to do it. And you can go and make all of your own changes. You can pull reports to see how they're being utilized. You can kind of see what the numbers are coming in. It's totally manageable through just a normal computer interface.
Bill, have you done any other, was it Onondaga you said?
Onondagas we're working on right now. We're just waiting to see how that goes. They've submitted their app. They're gonna wait and make a final decision to see after, they find out if they've been approved or not.
Then you've been you'll be awarded the job? So
Yeah.
you have to go through a competitive bid system for that, or how's that?
So far, no. So far, there hasn't been one on that.
Okay.
I know a lot of times there is, but so far there
Is
hasn't.
there much competition out there?
Well, there's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty of folks that are
As you
doing different parts of it. Not everybody does a full turnkey solution. We kind of try to do that, but there are electricians that are putting them in. They'll do the install part, but they'll, have the customer source their own equipment or whatever. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but
Okay. Any other questions, Joe?
In terms of the grant funding, is it earmarked in terms of which type of system it can be used for?
either or. So I think it was listed, might be on this one paper. Well, let's see, there's a match, the 20% match is right there, but no, I think it's in this larger thing. It's basically of this 5 million that was put into the fund, this is on page 4 there, funding available. It shows you that 40% or 2 million is supposed to be prioritized for disadvantaged communities. And then the remainder of the 3 million is eligible. It's been broken down. If you look further down, it says DSC fast charging 2 million for that, 3 million for level 2. So no, I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It's just a matter of, the funding, whether it's going to be there or not when you get your application in.
What is a ballpark cost for installation charges?
Yeah, that one, Patricia, is a little bit harder. I'm not trying at all to be evasive, but just because they're so dependent on the site in terms of where we're going to install, things like wire runs and whether or not we're going to have a new service and stuff like that, it can really widely vary. But what I can assure you is if you identify sites, we'll come out, we'll look at that and I'll give you very specific costs for what it would be.
Well, I think you said level 2 was between 10 and 15. without
That's
the-
kind of for the cost of the equipment.
Okay,
And then you have to add your install costs. But
okay.
I mean, generally speaking, what we've seen, especially if you factor in the ZEV grant, the financials are not hard to swallow at all. I mean, there's like, you generally are doing it for nothing, putting it in for nothing, and then you create a new revenue stream. If that goes away, if that's not available, and you're only gonna deal with make-ready funds and monetization of the federal tax credit that's available, which, by the way, the federal tax credit is worth 30%. The new language, it used to be last year, it was 30% up to a cap of 30,000 per site. Now it's 30% up to a cap of 100,000 per site. So there's definitely money there too.
Okay. That's something to think about. We'll get back to it.
Okay, I appreciate the time again, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions after I leave. Want me to leave these extra copies here for you?
Sure.
With them?
Yeah, I'll give them to the town.
Okay, great.
We'll give a hard copy to someone.
No, I won't separate them. They're in good hands.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Have a good rest of your night.
Just make sure you're well grounded.
Yeah, okay. I like this guy.
Well, someone has to.
Yeah.
Dave never passes up a chance for a compliment.
Mike, budget. I've asked, as I do every year, all departments to, major departments, not. But I haven't asked the attorneys to comment, but if they want to on their portion.
Anybody respond, Dave?
Pardon me?
Anybody respond yet?
Dawn said no, Dave Miller said no, Sarah said no, they're happy with what they submitted. Now, you're caught, I know, with a little off guard here because this is just handed to you that, what you call it, Colleen gave to me today. This is what everybody has turned in, like I normally do each year. I give you what everybody's turned in. We'll calculate that if everybody got what they wanted, what everything would cost. And then when I present the preliminary budget, that's when I do some hacking and trying to make everything fit. So we're trying to give you as much information as often as we can, but the only departments that haven't turned in is dog control. Dave Young has not turned his in yet. And usually we get something from both judges, and we only have something from Denny Freeman, even though Dick and Campbell has talked with Colleen, but he didn't talk specifics. He was just talking in generalities, you know. But he didn't turn anything in. Side note, that's not unusual. The last ones to turn anything in ever over the past 10, 12 years, 90% of the time or 95% of the time will be the courts. They always turn everything later. So anyways, Mike's here. He wanted to talk about what he's presenting. Mike, it's your show for first couple pages or Mike's. So if you got the drain, you want to go to the drainage? That's where it starts. Okay. That'd be good. So, and the personal services, I left the same. Under equipment, I left the same, but I would like to get a side by side. I know that people are against that, but it would save a lot of time. Let me just use an example of two roads. You guys know where Mule Road is? Used to. Okay. So there's a ditch that runs Mule Road all the way over here to Athens Road. So in order to get fueled up, because a great majority of the time you cannot run pickup trucks with a fuel tank on through the ditches and that. So at the end of the day, let's say we go halfway ditching. Now we got to turn around and come back with the excavator to get out to the road. So how much time does that take? Then you fuel up. Now we got to drive all the way back down, losing time. Plus back and forth, and if it's soft, you're just going to rut and tear everything up. So if we had a side by side, and I know the one town that I was the most, they got 3 of them now. I'm not trying to compare it, but if we could have a fuel tank on it, chainsaws and stuff like that, we can leave the machine right there when they're done at night, fuel up. The next day, guys get there. Not only that, you can use it on the bike path. Like this week we had 2 trees come down on the bike path. Yeah. Then up in the parks, you know. So I think it would save a lot of time, but. So go down into maintenance. I left the same. Engineering, I left the same. Highway, town wide, left the same. We go into town outside the village. I added 5% to the personal services. Contractual, I stayed the same at 65. Oil and stone. As you all know, the price of oil and everything is just skyrocketing. I added 10,000 there, asking for 100,000. Paving, I did the same thing. I added 10,000 more. I went to 135. Machinery, the personal service, I added 5%. Equipment, I put in for a grade all at 350.
I know there's one coming in at the end of, this month that's been on lease. With the state. So he thought it was coming back. He hasn't given me a concrete price, but it's a used one. I'll get more information as it comes available. Contract,
Does the state take reasonably good care of machinery?
it's hard to say that, you know. Then under contractual, I left the same fuel. As you all know, nobody knows what the price of fuel is gonna be. I added 8,000 for the machinery for fuel. Now we're gonna remove this, go down to snow removal. I added 5,000, or not 5% for wages. So you're gonna see a big increase of, on the equipment. I left contractual the same, fuel I raised 10,000. Salt, I will not know what the price of salt is until the 1st of September.
Can you go back up to equipment, Mike? Yeah, I think you skipped, did you skip that one?
179,
Yeah, well,
For what?
179,000.
The reason I did that- the reason I did that is I'm asking the 2 checks we get for snow plowing to be put in this budget. The 2 checks equal, we'll get one. I already put in for one to get paid for December this year, but usually you get, April to get paid for May, November to get paid for December. And that's the reason I put that in there, for 2 checks.
But what equipment are you?
What are you
I'm
purchasing?
I am asking that I would like to replace 2 of the sliding sanders after the first year to go out for bid. This type of sanders is a slide in, it's a slit sander.
So what, they're about 85,000, 90
No,
degrees?
if you remember, I told you it was a year or 2 ago, it was about $1,000 a foot. Well. I bid, I says, can you give me a price on one 14-foot stainless steel sander with a hydraulic auger rather than the apron chains? And it's got the galvanized screens at the top, so all the clumps in that don't get dropped down in. It's got the gearbox, it says it's a 12.6 yard capacity. It's crazy. 27,470 for one. Well, it says, I asked for 2, so he came back with 55,000. So it's not on state bid, so we would have to go right out to bid to get quotes. And just put this in there.
Was that it on that line, Mike?
Huh?
Was that it on that line? You got
So
an increase from 13,000 up to almost 180,000, and you just covered 54 of it.
yeah, well, I'd like to put it all in there just so that we had it in case. You might want to use some of it on the new truck.
Typically, where do those funds end up?
Unbalanced. And we take it out of there appropriately.
Budget transfers.
Go ahead, Mike. You're down to salt garage.
So the salt I added for 10 grand, like I said, hopefully the 1st of September, the county bid comes out. I don't know if I told you this, we have one legislature in Albany is trying to pass a law that you have to buy locally. Well, right now locally, if you go with American Rock, you're gonna pay $20 more a ton. So I'm still hoping Compass, they intended to bid on it. I don't know where this is going. We went without county again this year. So I'm hoping that this does not go through. We have to buy local. So then one of the garage is personal services. I left the same. I left the same for equipment. Up at the contraction for the joint facility, I increased that like 3,000. We've had Already we've spent, almost 20 grand in different things. So the way cost and everything is going up as per minimum cost there. Going over to the highway administration. Again, I asked 5% there. I kept the equipment the same and contractual the same. Traffic control, pretty much the same. And I forgot to put this in right on the line by parks. I left out tree removal. I'm asking for 50 grand for tree removal. Then again, going down to parks, personal services,
You said 50,000?
Under the parks line,
yes. It's right above the A 7110.1. I forgot to put it in there, so I just put it right on the, where it says parks, I put tree removal. I talked to this, I think it's called Shrek. Tree removal, we're up in the park right now, they're in the county bid, just to kind of see what type of.
So that would probably be contractual then.
Okay, yeah.
A 7110.4.
I'll worry about that.
Contractual.
I'll worry
Yeah.
about that.
Then going to refuge and garbage, pretty much is the same. Cemeteries, I went up 5% on the personal services, equipment I left the same, and contractual I left the same. Just the cost of doing business is crazy, and if you even it's. I've got all kinds of quotes here on different things. We talked about a mower, replacing the open can mower. I've got a quote here from New Holland, down in Lockport. And they are on the state bid. But there's a 12 to 15 month waiting period to get it. And their price is $139,387. John Deere. Their price is $156,609.24. They can't even tell you when you think they would get one. So we checked out Massey Ferguson. And they have 3 coming into Syracuse to their main distributor. And if we put in now for it, the price would be the same here, like 89,616.76 for the tractor. As far as he knew, there was nobody, they're not designated for anybody. So the flail mowers that go along with the mower, they're due in supposedly by April or May. They get shipped to Stevens, who has the contract for Diamond Mowers. My thought is, since we know we can get a tractor, the mowers are gonna be shipped to Syracuse. Leave it there. When they come in, Stevens can get them, put them on, and then we'll have it for the springtime.
Total ballpark.
If we order now, $139, $430 and 14 cents.
For both tractor and mowers.
Yes. And we talked, you said there was about approximately 100.
You had about 140.
Yeah.
In your budget.
So. It's crazy, like I said, the price of everything, and if you can get it.
But if that's what you want to do, we need to do a motion. Or, a resolution, and you gotta get us that information.
Like I said, the first 2 are on state bid. This one is a municipal discount. Now. we got 3 quotes, written quotes. Do you have to go out for bid?
They're not on a state bid. You can piggyback on the state bid, but otherwise we have to go out to bid.
So I will have to check and see if they can piggyback this one here. I can call the guy tomorrow.
I see Ferguson is a quality product, isn't it?
We went down to the town of Carlton. And they used it, they ran it. And they honestly feel that it's built better than the Deere. And it's. What we're checking now is the flail blades and everything, if they're compatible with what we have. Make sure, I'm sure if a bearing goes, it's not to be compatible with Elmore, but the blades, the pins, the clevises, it all. So we don't have box of this, box of that, box of this, Because we order from Montague, we don't order right from Alamo for the blades and that. Montague, you get it at a better price.
Okay, any questions? We don't talk about, we discussed. While Mike's here, do we have any other questions of Mike?
What happened with that one guy that said his neighbor flooded his yard or whatever, and he wanted you guys to look at that? Did that ever get resolved?
Is that Dick Wagner on Catherine Drive?
No,
Yeah, no,
would this be Kriegel Road? What
it was
that
with
guy's name?
Darzik or something. was the name.
Schultz?
Maybe.
We had Schultz on
Braunschweigel?
Kriegel.
Schultz and Braunschweig, I believe is the name.
Braunschweig was the neighbor and we haven't heard back from them,
Okay.
Where's Ron?
right next door to Schultz. On Kriegel. That's the dispute.
I thought his name was Jurek.
Oh, could
Oh,
be Jared.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Jared, we're sorry.
That was the name he kept mentioning.
One of the popular names. They filled the pond and there's the one where they filled the pond in, is that the one you're talking, Patty?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have not heard anything. from them.
okay.
It's been pretty dry.
Questioning on this other stuff that you,
If you want to comment,
okay,
whatever we can without having to go into executive session.
you said culverts. What is the estimate on culverts?
Right,
There's 4 of them that,
Mhm.
I called Scott and he says, is this an emergency SAP? He says, no, but it needs to be addressed. It's not like they're gonna fall in. With the pipe, I'm figuring about $5,000 per.
So we're looking at
That's what time and labor, pipe, the black pipe, the stone. You can replace them in a 10-hour day. Like that,
Go ahead.
why can't the town do the paving and have other towns help? Well, I anticipate to get help from other towns hauling the blacktop. But I don't think I can just ask one town to spend 6 days or so out there, so I would have to say. Maybe Alden could give me a couple of trucks for 2 days, and I might go to this town for 2 days.
Is there any way we can get a portion of it done this year and the rest of it done next year?
I think right now we got time to do maybe Hake Road and Hake there, because we gotta prep it all. There's spots that gotta replace, to dig out with the roots and everything. I drove down a bike path today, and it's gonna take a lot of prep work.
Oh, yeah, and that's, the town's gonna do that.
We'll do the prep work,
Okay.
dig out the old blacktop, and,
Well, I know the town okayed a resolution to. When we thought the whole bike path was only gonna take 130,000,
here's the.
but we know it's way over 200. And there's other details concerning that I would prefer, because it's contractual, go into executive session later on. But we have agreed to spend some money this year, and if we can get every little bit we get done this year, it's less we have to do.
I mean, in that short section. I gotta see if, Clarence's paver, the screed will be sucked into 10 foot.
Because there's what, 12?
Well, it'd probably go up to 14 or 16,
Yeah,
but
no,
I gotta find out the minimum. With the
because the bike path right now is 10.
10. You know,
Comments?
Well, yeah, if you can do it cheaper, make it wider.
well, that-
If you're gonna get the free labor, it costs you a little more than materials.
I mean, I don't know another town right around here that has their own paver and that, you know.
Now, Mike. The other towns, to John's point, the other towns that have trailways, bike paths, whatever you wanna call them. There's usually 10 foot wide. Or you don't know?
I think they're about 10 foot.
Oh, well, I know Clarence is because we
Yeah.
looked into them. But I didn't know what Lancaster, because I know they have one. I'll have to go up and
I could ask Lancaster, Alden doesn't have one, I don't think.
Tonawanda.
I was up
Or
in
Amherst.
Tonawanda yesterday,
Amherst.
up at the dockside, and that did not look like there was any more than 10 foot.
But if we could get any portion of it done. Unless the board feels I'm all wet.
I mean, here's the price with the tack coat, I had 10,000 or 8,000 for. So you're almost 300, that's with.
To do the whole thing,
To do the, yeah,
not to do Hake Road, from Hake to,
Barlow, or wherever we go.
well, from Hake, you're talking about,
We said 4.5 miles.
okay, I'm totally confused. You said you could do a small portion from Hake Road
To Clarence Center,
to Clarence Center Road. Yeah, that's only 3/4 of a mile, right?
right?
Yeah.
But this is
Something like that.
the quote I got to do
Right.
4.5
Yeah,
miles.
we're not worried about that.
300,000, you said?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
But if we can do that one little portion, why not? That's not gonna cost us more than 50,000, I would think, especially if we do it.
I can work on the figures tomorrow, I'll get the length and width.
Are there any portions of the bike path that are worse than others and in more urgent need of being done?
It's sporadic through it.
That one section on Hake, I got
It's not recorded.
No, here's our bike path goes. This is Hake Road that we're talking about. This is all the way to Clarence, and then we have ones that goes this way, and we have a new portion like this. The new portion is brand new, it's only a couple years old. The rest of this has not been, it's been sealed. 8 years ago, maybe 10, something like that. And we had neglected it, and it needs refurbishing. There are a section here that might need it bad, there's a section over here that might need it bad. But if we can get for one, to, Clarence Center Road, that's 3/4 of a mile out of the way that we don't have to worry about next year. I'm guessing. I'm sorry for drawing. Okay,
So. Status of the truck. The truck is, the cabin chassis is in Batavia. Tomorrow, the guy that's putting the body on and the plow equipment, he's coming out to talk with us. We're gonna need to look at. He told me that the equipment and all this stuff is up in Harrisville, which is up in Watertown. So that's their main plant where they do the assembly, or they have a plant down in Oakfield. He says they're gonna bring all this stuff to Oakfield to assemble. I'm gonna say, look, is it better if we take the truck up in Harrisville because they might get done faster? Well, we'll be talking with them tomorrow.
but a good guesstimate is before winter,
He told me you should have it before winter.
long as winter doesn't come in September.
Oregon.
The October surprise.
Catherine Drive with Dick Wagner, no matter what we do, he's not happy. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll go down and look and talk to him. Next,
There's been something done before to. try
couple
to
different
appease
times, yes.
Yeah, there's two personnel items that you don't want to stay for another 45 minutes up and wait, or
No,
do you mind just stepping out for about 15 minutes? And we'll go into executive session to do the personnel issues. Huh?
Yeah, the unrecord.
I don't know.
52.
How do I unrecord? We'll
You're the
totally
wrong
gonna do
person.
that. Everyone's gonna do it all under. Can I ask? Hang on a minute.
Well, I didn't want-
Look at you.
You think I don't know what's going on. I don't have a clue what to do. Okay, we'll go through the rest of the meeting. We will be going into executive session at the end of the meeting because we have fire company, refuges, Teamsters contracts to end water. Contract, yeah, to discuss. Okay, so water sewer, we'll just hold off on that for executive session. Planning, I have nothing. Mike, I did write down Brucker Road, but for drainage, Mike said he was gonna go down and talk to that guy and we'll hold him to his word. Buildings,
The only, yeah, we're just waiting. I talked with Christine and Jeremy at Doyle Security. So we're waiting for a zone list. Christine did get a zone list from Johnson Controls. I can't open it up for some reason because I don't have whatever it is. I'm sure Jeremy does, who really needs it more than I do.
Mhm.
So that'll get us the specs that we need to put this out for bid, and then we'll move ahead with that. I have not talked to Dale Canute yet on, Gooch, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Esquire, thanks, Doc. On the air conditioning unit at the cultural center, I did look at it today. It seems to be running okay, but it is covered with cottonwood, maybe that's extra filtration, I don't know. I think it might be something you can probably deal with the hose, yeah. And I think that's it for the library. I haven't heard anything on the denial library, so I'm guessing everything is okay there yet.
Yeah, it was Good Friday night when we unloaded all of our
Okay,
sensitive instruments into there.
Dawn, I don't know if she mentioned it to you, but she mentioned it to me, she wanted to know who takes care of the sign. Because I guess there's all kinds of weeds in the
Yeah,
sign.
I noticed that Friday night.
well, that'd be, I guess, our parks guys.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably, Massaro did it,
Oh,
and no one,
No, it's not here, yeah.
picked it up, so I'll ask Mike to ask, Dave.
Dave,
I didn't know if that's the route to go, but then that's,
no.
that's around. Okay, grants, I've sent emails to, Jermaine and the state senator concerning the parks grant. Trailsways, I should take that off. Community development block, village sidewalk. I sent email out today and I don't know if, oh God, if I should wait and do this in executive session. I don't,
Well, if you're not sure, probably.
yeah, because.
About that
it's
project?
About the project. No, okay, no,
Are you guys aware of it?
anyways,
I'm aware of it. Yeah, I can't think of how it falls under the
I don't think so, not that one.
executive session.
personnel. The conflicts, that's how it falls under. You're
Yeah,
about to hear it.
okay, well,
No, you won't. As I sent out today, I have, and I copied the town on a couple of these, had conversations back and email conversations back between the board, the village board and myself as representative on this, sidewalk grant. And, they have thrown to us the idea of sidewalk behind our building, they have a new project, the new community housing community, and the path gonna go from there to Pixley's. That's 5 years down the road or whatever. And they wanted to meet with us, 2 members, and I sent that out to everybody, and no one got back to me on whether they wanted to attend or not. And I sent back to Jane that our position has not changed. We do not want a sidewalk in the back of our property. And she sent out to me again stating that, wanted to know an update. If there was any update on who or what we're gonna attend the meeting, and I said, nothing has changed. You haven't given me any information that I asked for. If we're gonna come to a meeting, give us some details, something about what it's about. Alls I knew is there was a meeting, 2 representatives with us, the village, and the manufactured housing community. You know, give me some details, and that's probably why no one got back to me, go. So anyways, Dawn's talking, into the village hall today and talked with, Jane and gave this. Yeah, and there's I don't know if I printed that email out for everybody. I thought I did, but anyways, apparently what they want is they talked I sent out an email that Jane talked to Dawn about. They've talked to the residents, and the residents do not want a sidewalk on Buell Street, and the resident at the corner of Buell on Clarence Center Road doesn't want a sidewalk. But, so then the village wants the town to put a sidewalk from the back of our building, as you can see on the map. Dawn pointed out to her that we always have drainage issues in the springtime. It's always wet in that corner. How are we gonna mitigate that? Okay,
In the front corner by Beale Street, it gets wet down in there, Dave.
Yeah. yeah, you can't, in the springtime, you can't walk through
And
the,
the DOT said they can put a crosswalk there, or is that just?
Well-
If you can,
yeah.
because then we're gonna have a sidewalk that starts from nowhere.
Hello. So, I wanted to bring it up to, get back to the village. Allegedly, if, see, the village is in charge of this grant with, Community Development Block Grant. They're the lead agency, so they have to tell Paul DiOrangelo whether they're gonna continue or not. If Paul DiOrangelo said he would pay to do the sidewalk. That's what Jane told, Dawn today. Personally, I don't care who pays for it, I don't like it. I
And
just
the
don't think-
don't liking is marked in yellow on this sheet.
Yes,
We already said that we're not interested in.
yeah, that's
I,
all. we
I
want.
think the part, I can't speak for them, I haven't talked to anybody on this. But as you know, we've discussed having a sidewalk so we can get to the town hall
Sure.
with a sidewalk. This would still work, but if you can't get a crosswalk there. I don't understand that part.
Yeah.
And I don't understand if you can put one here, why can't we put one over here?
Well, because the resident doesn't want it. So I don't, it's okay for the
Really?
resident not to want it, but it's not okay for the town not to want it. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little,
Yeah, okay.
I should not.
So 101 resident, is that the?
Yeah, but yeah, he doesn't want it down Clarence Center Road.
I don't
Well,
know,
that
anybody
makes-
gotta stay in there.
I didn't think, well, that's,
When Don Whiting was in charge back in 75,
the sidewalks went in.
and they went in,
Well, I think in most municipalities, you don't have a.
you don't have a. ch-
If it's
can't-
public
you can't tell them,
safety-
Yeah, it's public safety.
So. We're still holding out and presenting a sidewalk on Lansing Road. On the north side, at least from the town hall to Buell Street, east of Buell.
I would like to get back to her, and I'll copy everybody that, once again, we talked about it this evening. And we are in favor of along Buell Street. We're not sure why that can't be done. And And I don't know how to,
Is this their way, and I should probably talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, cause I hate to ask someone to speak for somebody else,
I
but
can't.
is this a proposal to get us a sidewalk to the town hall? This is the best option they came up, or they have an ulterior
They,
motive for down the road when the manufacturing home?
well, if you notice, you see the manufacturing home, you see the 5-foot path.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So allegedly, right underneath the 5-foot path, on that part of the map is where their clubhouse is gonna go. 5, that's phase 2, 3, or whatever.
That's like a golf course there.
And then they're going to have a path, 5-foot path that goes to Pixley's parking lot. So these people in here will be able to get the Pixleys and go uptown. Not an issue.
I guess Bixley signed off on.
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
that's private property.
I have no idea.
Access.
So I think they would sign off on a path for customers to come in.
Oh, if they were
Well,
customers.
if you got a potential 300 customers, might be a good idea. So is it all right? Is that what I'm hearing, that I get back to the village, and tell them that we are only interested in a sidewalk down by Center Road?
I agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's 2 of us. Anybody
what
else?
we
Yeah,
proposed.
Just
We
basically what
originally-
we've said before. Okay, end of that.
And then for that purpose, see,
So you're gonna have this manufactured home, with the patio homes, and you won't be able to walk to downtown Akron.
except
Well, except
right
there,
here.
you know that.
through the parking lot.
Okay,
How you gonna get it from?
next, sidewalk, okay, we've done that. Other, nothing new on the gas well, dog control truck, I believe the only thing left is
Get it lettered. You
the letter.
know,
That's
I
it.
have not talked to Dave DeYoung. I should call him, but every time I've called him, I've gotten the son. So maybe Dave is back on the med. Has he been in at all, or?
He was in Thursday or Friday. one
I
of
will
those days.
reach out to Dave tomorrow, Dave DeYoung, and ask him to reach out to Joe where those two can coordinate to get that done.
Cause I asked him when he was in to have a conversation with, excuse me, a potential assistant.
Good idea.
Yes. We can't go by, well, we heard from Joe Schmo that,
I kind of like that animal.
Yeah.
I better wait.
Right.
Executive session on that.
Do you recall if we got a second quarter dog control report?
Yeah, we did, or do we got one really late.
Was that the first quarter?
That was probably the first
That's the
quarter,
first
yeah.
But I was-
Well, I don't think we got the second one done. He's been laid up, I know that. Something with,
but he was in here.
yeah, and he went to court one time, I believe, also.
Oh, they had quite a, yeah.
And the,
Was it bad?
No, there's just a lot of people in here about. Well, Dogfish on, kind of Judge Campbell, I mean, they were there for. Hour and a half. I mean, it wasn't a, you know. Prosecutors or whatever, I don't know. But- So anyways, I don't know what the outcome was. Moving on. Okay, so I'm gonna take the dog control truck off the agenda.
that has to be stored in right outside the parking lot and not used.
No, he's.
No,
been
he's
keeping
having, he has it
No,
at
this
this
is the
house.
one that's being.
This is the one that's
He
been
has
on.
Capiche.
Okay, bicentennial, you'll see, I'll be putting some extra money in the budget to help cover the celebrations. I will be ballparking and guessing it. But I had an interesting conversation with one of the committee members that go, oh, Dave, you remember we had this conversation that March 27th, 2023 is the actual birth date of the town. And that's a board meeting night and you're gonna cut the meeting short or cancel the meeting, or we're just gonna have a big celebration. And I'm going, well, we're not cutting, if it's a work session, yes, if it's a board meeting, no. And I looked it up and it's a board meeting, so we can have a short meeting, but they wanna have cake and whatever. That's the celebration committee, they like to do that.
Are they doing that, yeah?
Right here. So you may have to attend that, John, or you can sneak out before we start. Surplus property, I'm was gonna ask Mike if he had submitted that, yeah.
What was the list that we had, what, a week ago?
Oh, yeah, I was just, I put it on there because I forgot.
See, if you did, it'll be on
It'll be
Office
online,
International.
With Town of Newstead
Yeah.
stuff on.
Well, you might have to search for it, but
Oh.
yeah.
Too long.
Okay, next one is a street light on Cummings Road. If, I mentioned it to you in email. At the fire hall. Like where Leisurewood comes in and then the fire hall, there's no street light at that end of the fire hall. And I think it would behoove us to put one there. To help. Light up, not only for the fire company and Leisurewood, because that can be a very busy section. Any day of the week.
Is it north of the fire home where you want to put the pole?
Yes,
Right at the corner of their property.
well, that's why I put down the two poll numbers. There's, okay. Cummings Road. Fire hall. Leisurewood. There's a pole right here.
Yeah.
This is their parking lot. There's a pole right here. What I'm proposing is, if we put it here, angle it like a 45 degrees out into the, towards the road, you know, you could put a long extension so that it'll cover it, or if here, just maybe towards here, because there is at the other end of the parking lot, a light down there.
This is the one you wanted.
I originally wanted,
exist.
yeah.
Okay,
In the cost, I apologize, I don't have, it'll be minimal, it might be an extra couple bucks a month. If that, I don't know, I'd have to check with the wattage or what that costs us. But the key is, if we want to do it, I'll have the dollar cents, what it'll cost a year, at Monday's meeting. But I look back in the old resolutions, and we have to do a resolution to add a pole. So I can just dig up the old one and put in the new numbers and verify, have Emily verify that, and Mike verify that I've done that correctly, if that's okay.
it's a safety item.
Yeah. Okay, good. Anybody have anything else this evening, other than contractual items?
You got the sign.
Oh, the town hall sign, the bids are back next Monday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We certainly can have,
Any come in yet? That you know?
no, I did get, the two companies that I emailed to see if they had got one originally. Did get back to me and said, we got one now, so I do know it went out to more than one company. Now, I don't know what happened there, Dawn said she sent it out, in the two companies. Are reputable.
Yeah, one went
Yeah,
to
just-
Flex Loam, and then Allrep, I believe, is one that.
Right, for Lockport.
That's very reputable as far as they have exactly what we were looking at as far as a sign. And the importance to that is the service of the signs, once you get them, and the durability of our winners in that.
Put the money in the bike path.
So. We'll find out.
There's a
next
no
week.
there.
It's a lot safer. I mean,
It'll be 3-2, one way or another. Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss contractual items.
So we'll,
Second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried at
23 is.
8:23. Thank you all for coming. You didn't have anything to comment about? Okay.
Look, one thing is in charging station.
I have a question about that. Is it safe to say you're exploring the possibility? of-
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll probably put that on the agenda for Monday night to move forward. Put a, where I don't know if I need that yet. I'll check with the grant writer tomorrow. I told Bernie I would call him tomorrow. But you might as well go with them. They've done 2 or 3 of them. And Joe knows
Joe Green,
But
local,
my question,
He lives,
I mean, Western New York.
my question is this. If we can't go through the village of Akron and get one here at the town or one at the library, where are we talking about putting these damn things?
I think the fire hall would be great, because it's right off Route 5.
Any seniors driving?
Right.
Taking their golf carts up there.
I don't know if,
I thought, originally I thought of 3 points. Here, Veterans Park, and the Fire Hall Leisure area,
Somewhere there.
one way or the other. Would, as we saw in those details, we would have to sponsor
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
up at the Cummings Road.
Yeah.
Would be it one or the other. And then you've got to negotiate between Leisurewood and or the fire company what their percentage is, because you'll be using their property.
yeah, because I'm thinking, if they're not gonna be utilized, then we eat the
Well,
cost.
I think, the wave of the future is they're gonna be more utilized as the years go on, you know. Just like we,
We can set a public hearing for comments. We've done that before. We just want to see if people are interested.
Might be an idea.
I think that's a good idea.
okay, can you, all right, thank you.
But
I think
we have to jump on that pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Can we go through, can we at least get with Rotella and?
Oh, yeah,
say
no, I'll still
paperwork
plan
and-
on it. I mean.
I think that the level 2 is kind of a waste of time, because who's gonna go there for 4 to 6 hours? Like, what are you gonna do for 4 to 6 hours?
That's at Veterans Park and you have.
If it's at the
kids
park, then
You're
yeah,
gonna
you're
be
sitting there
all
for a
day.
soccer game and tournaments.
Well.
That
but
makes sense.
To Patty's point, though, if you're in need of it, you just want a quick fix. No, you want to be there for 15, 20 minutes and be able to get going, so
Well,
you
we
can get
could-
to the table.
Or you want the DC one?
We could be,
Quick charge.
well,
Well,
we could
yeah.
be
The big
diversified,
one.
you can get options there, right?
Yeah.
But who's gonna wanna sit there for 6
Put the
hours?
two- Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
get one quick and one,
Yeah,
one slow.
Okay.
Quick.
Thank you for that answer.
Okay,
and then
I
people
don't
play,
see something about them.
we have to unrecord, this is a dangerous situation.
I know, you slip up or something.
Executive session will be over the airwaves. I guess it's airwaves, cable.